Hey folks, it's about midnight here on the farm. We've got a bake sale that we're making some stuff for tomorrow. And, well, it's tomorrow already. But I'm making some of our Portuguese sweet rolls, so I need to put the dough together tonight. So I got to do this before I go to bed. So stick around and we're going to be baking today. Kelly's already been at it. She was off today or yesterday, and she made 4 dozen of her cupcakes. She's amazing at cupcakes. These are marshmallow frosting funfetti cupcakes. And she also made some sourdough sandwich bread over here. Really good. I need to package that up for her and then get my bread going. Alright, we got Kelly's bread all packed up. This isn't going to the bake sale, in case I didn't tell you that already. This is for our use here at home. Let's get our bread going. Now, we've already shared this recipe before, but we'll run you through it since we're doing it already. We're going to start out with all of our dry ingredients in our big bowl here. I usually use our big crock bowl, but I don't feel like getting it down. Start out with 3 cups of flour. And that's about half of the flour that we're going to use, but we don't want to put all of it in at once. Now to our 3 cups of flour, we're going to add 1 cup of regular granulated sugar. Next ingredient is 1/3 of a cup of Splenda, which is a sugar substitute. It adds an additional sweetness to the bread because it's actually a little sweeter by volume than sugar. Going to add 1 teaspoon of salt. So that's all of our dry ingredients to this point. And then give it a little stir to combine everything. Going to be doing a lot more stirring. And I use a real nice heavy-handled spoon because we're going to stir this before we put the rest of the flour in. It's pretty vigorously, so you need a good solid spoon. So that's good. Let's get some of our wetter ingredients put together. So we've got 1/3 of a cup of instant potatoes. Put it in a bowl. We're going to add enough of our really hot tap water to this to stir it up and make it eating consistency. We got our potatoes mixed together. Now we'll set this aside for now. Now this bread is the only reason I have those instant mashed potatoes even here in the house. To our 4-cup measuring cup here, I've added 11 tablespoons of butter, which is 1 stick and about 3 tablespoons, and then 2 teaspoons of shortening. And then we're going to melt this very slowly in the microwave. Okay, we've got our butter and our shortening melted. Now to cool this back down, we're going to add 1/3 of a cup of milk. And that'll bring the temperature back down to where we're not going to kill our yeast when we mix everything together. You can also throw your mashed potato mixture in here too. You can put it all together in one bowl now. Okay, we've thrown our potatoes in here in the mix too, just to kind of combine all of our wet. So now we're going to put our yeast together and get it ready to go in. So for our yeast mixture, we have 1/3 of a cup of warm water, 2 teaspoons of sugar, and 2 tablespoons of active dry yeast. We're going to give this a little stir. And what this is going to do is going to proof your yeast. So this is going to foam up really good, so you know your yeast is active. We are pretty good here about keeping our yeast in the fridge and making sure we don't go beyond the date So sometimes I'll put my dry yeast right in the dry mix, but if you do that, you still need to put your 1/3 of a cup of warm water and 2 teaspoons of sugar so the mix is not lacking that moisture and sweetness that you have in there. Now normally if you were spending the day making bread and starting early in the morning, you would want all of this stuff warm because it creates a quicker rise on your dough. However, we're doing kind of an overnight recipe here, so we don't want it to blow up and go crazy fast. So the temperature of this stuff is not important. You can put everything in cold with the exception of the butter and the shortening, which has to be melted. But again, cool that down with your milk and everything else. And if you're putting the yeast in the mix dry, use some cold water into your butter and shortening mixture to cool everything down real nice. So while we are waiting for our yeast to proof, let's crack 6 eggs into our mixture here. We'll make kind of a well into the middle. Now we're going to crack them into a little bowl before we throw them in because we check our eggs that way just in case we have a bad egg or something. Got our 6 eggs into our dry mixture. You can see our yeast is foaming up like crazy. That's why you don't want to do this early in the process because this will foam up completely over your cup here and make a mess. So we're going to start incorporating all of our wet into our dry. It's easiest to break up the eggs in the flour first. If you do the eggs last, it takes a long time to incorporate them into the mix. But when you put them in the flour first thing, they incorporate very quickly. As you can see, much easier. And then once these eggs are pretty well mixed in, we can start adding the rest of our wet ingredients. And it's going to take 2 hands, so I'll let you go just for a second. Got all of our wet ingredients now. So we're going to get all this incorporated really well. And it's going to be a lot thinner than the bread dough you know before. But remember, we don't have all of our flour in here yet. And there's a reason for that. We want to, as this mix is loose like this and we're able to stir it, we're going to stir it like crazy to where it becomes elastic and you'll see it start kind of getting stretchy in the pan. And that's supercharging the gluten in the mix, which you want to do because the gluten is what ties everything together and holds those air bubbles in the mix and gives you a really good rise. So I'm going to get back with 2 hands again and get this whipped up pretty good. You want to scrape everything off the sides really well. Make sure everything's mixed in good. And even as we start adding the flour to this mix here in a little bit, we're going to be scraping the sides a lot. So our mixture has come together pretty well, so we're going to start mixing this good. Now if you got a big stand mixer, you could probably do this in your big stand mixer, but I just do it by hand because our stand mixer isn't big enough and the dough wraps up around the hook, makes a mess. So I just do it by hand. It's not that hard. So we're going to keep mixing this up until it starts getting elastic. And you can already kind of see a little bit how it kind of pulls what you're looking for. We're going to do this for a couple minutes. Now I put this dish towel on the counter because anytime you use a stainless steel bowl like this, because I'm spinning a lot, it'll mark up your counter. So that's what the dish towel is for. So you can spin your bowl without causing issues, making marks on stuff. All right, we're pretty much there. See how it kind of stretches when it hits the sides up there? So our gluten is pretty well developed. Now you can do this with a hand mixer if you have one. It works really well because if you're not used to mixing a lot of stuff, this will get your arm pretty tired. And so will the next step. So we're going to start adding our flour in here a cup at a time. We have about 3 more cups of flour to add in, but if you've ever made bread, it's never exact. You've got to know the texture, what you're looking for when you've got enough flour in. Most bakers go by weight. They'll measure in grams because then your recipes can be a lot more exact because the weight accounts for the moisture in the flour. Because depending on how much moisture is in the air, your flour comes out differently, which makes your texture different. So let's throw in our first cup of flour. Now as you add your flour, just incorporate it into your mix, stir it in. We're going to be scraping the sides of the bowl. That's why I like this kind of rubber silicone spatula thing when I'm doing this. So once this all is incorporated, put in another cup and just keep going. Once we get 2 cups in, then we'll add it a half a cup at a time, because we may go 3.5 cups. You never know. Time for our second cup, second additional cup. You can see it's really getting elastic now. Looking really good. So here's our second cup of flour. Overall, this is 5 cups of flour. Remember, we started with 3. And we're still able to mix with the spoon. Once it gets too stiff to mix with the spoon, we just get our hand in there. Start mixing it in. This will be about the last installment we can do with the spoon. And again, I'm scraping the sides of the bowl because we want this bowl to be fairly clean when we're done. Okay, that's going to be it for the spoon. So let's get the spoon cleaned off. Our next half cup of flour, I'll just dump all over this spoon. So that'll help clean it off. Okay, there we go. So in we go with the hands. Now I can already tell we're going to need that another half cup of flour at least. And I kind of put it around the outside of the bowl. Now with my hand, I'll scrape that bowl like this as I go around, cleaning the side of the bowl with the edge of my hand, getting all that down. And then once I get all the way around the bowl, we can start working it in. So now I'm kind of working on the bottom with my fingers, getting any big dough chunks off the bottom. So now I start working the dough. And we're going to need more flour, so another half a cup. So now we're up to 6.5. Unless you're going by weight, it's not an exact science. I've been making this bread so long that, and any bread maker will tell you, they know when it's ready and when it has enough flour. So this is kind of when the kneading process starts. So as I start kneading, I'll pick the dough up off the bottom and then run my heel into the dough like that, making sure I'm pulling everything off the bottom. And if the top starts getting sticky like it is now, I'll take the whole mass and throw it over. Put that sticky side down in that flour in the bottom of the bowl. So this is going to be real close. We may need a little more flour. Starts getting super sticky, we'll put more in. The bottom of the flour is getting a little sticky to where I can't knead it. So we'll go with about a 1/4 cup, kind of around the edges and over the top. Little increments at the end. You don't want to get your dough too dry, because that'll make for dry bread. I like my dough to be just a tad sticky, not very much, but just a tad sticky. Make sure we get everything off the bowl. So we're going to knead this until it's a smooth dough. Could take up to almost 10 minutes. You almost can't over knead the dough. So we'll let you go for a little bit. We're going to keep kneading this. If it gets sticky, we add just a dusting of flour from now on. Not very much at all. Just what you need to keep it from really sticking. Okay, we added just a dusting more of flour. I just put my hand in the flour bowl and kind of went like this. So now we're just about there. The dough is almost sticking to the bottom, but I'm still able to get it up. So I'm resisting the temptation to add more flour. As long as it comes away cleanly, I'm okay. Okay, do you see how our dough is smooth now? That's what we're looking for. So I'll bring this together in a ball. Then we get our cooking spray and we go around the side of the bowl. And even the top of the bread. Pick the bread ball up. Cooking spray in the bottom. Make the dough into kind of a ball like that. More cooking spray on top. I use the butter flavor cooking spray. And then we bless the bread. And then we'll cover it with a towel and let it sit. So before you put it to bed, you want to make sure you know what it looks like before it rises double. So when this rises double, we'll probably be kind of up to this area in the pan. So just kind of take note. Now back to where if we were baking this during the day and we wanted to speed up the process, you could warm your oven just barely warm and put the bowl in there. If your house is cool like ours, it'll take a while to rise, which is okay because we're going to be doing this overnight. But keep it in a warm place if you want it to rise quicker. And to my buddies Matt and Sam down in Oklahoma, we're sporting the apron. Pretty cool. I like it. Now you want to cover your bowl with a real light towel. My mom actually made these out of like old bed sheet material, so they're really lightweight. Flour sack material works very good for this too. And because it's so lightweight and we've sprayed the top of that bread, it's not going to stick to the bread at all. So we're going to shut down the kitchen and go to bed ourselves. If I happen to get up in the middle of the night, I'll come check this, see if I need to punch it down, because after it rises double, you want to deflate it and then cover it back up, and it'll rise double again before we shape it. So good night, y'all. Good morning, folks. It's 6:45. Kelly left for work about, 20 minutes ago. Checking our bread. Take a look. Yep, it has risen double. So let's wash our hands and we'll deflate it. Here we go. Are you ready? Punch it down. Some people call this degassing. So we're going to let this rise again one more time before we form it into our little pans. We're going to use some little round pans to put our bread in. So we'll cover this back up. It doesn't take as long the second go round. So while we're waiting for this to rise, we're going to make a couple other items for the bake sale. Well, we're officially running out of counter space. So we made some cowboy cookies. These are cowgirl cookies. I made Mom a cowboy cookie with nuts. I don't like them with nuts. And then we made a couple pans of brownies, but these were just box brownies. We're going to dress them up with some coconut pecan frosting and make them like German chocolate brownies. Would be really good. Let's check our bread dough over here. And it looks like it's risen double again, so we can start portioning this out, putting them in the pan. All right, we punched down our dough yet again, and then now we're going to form it. We're going to put it in these disposable pans. There'll be 7 rolls in a pan. We'll put 1 in the middle and then 5 around the outside, because that's the way Mom used to do it. And we're put some spray in the pan, of course, and then you also spray your hands to keep the dough from sticking to your hands. And you want to pull out about, I would say, about an apricot size ball of dough. Roll it under to where it makes a nice smooth top, and then place them in your pan. So pinch off about apricot size piece of dough. Pinch on the bottom and roll it over on the top. Like that, till you get a nice smooth top on it. Now some people can put it in their hands and just roll it like this, roll it under, but I've never got the hang of that, even though that looks okay. And then you just put it in your pan. There's our pan of buns. We're going to keep doing these until we run out of pans or run out of dough. Okay, we get 4 pans of rolls here. And these are going to rise up double again. They'll fill the whole pan once they've risen. Some of these are a little big probably. You want to figure out what size roll you want as a finished product, and then make your dough ball half of that size. So you can make these a lot smaller. You can make them like walnut size if you wanted and just put more in the pan. That works just fine. We put the cover back on them. They're going to rise a whole lot quicker because I left the oven on to warm up the kitchen in here so everything would rise better. And then it gets a good amount of heat coming up from the oven. We'll be baking before you know it. The devil's vacuum is at it again. Messing around in my kitchen. Kelly has set this thing to run while she's at work. But I'm still here. Drives me bananas. So this bake sale is to benefit my cousin's daughter's cheer and dance team. They have this benefit every year. We baked for it last year. Great bunch of girls. Nicest, sweetest girls you'd ever meet in your life. I'll show you a picture of them. We got our cookies all cooled off and packaged. Now we're going to put the frosting on our brownies. And then we'll pre-cut those, and we'll package those up too. These pans came with lids, so that'll make it convenient. Brownies are pre-cut. A good tip for when you're cutting your brownies: after every cut, rinse your knife under hot water, get all the material off of it, heat up the knife a little bit. Goes right through. Got our brownies all packaged up. I would venture to say that some of our bread is probably ready to bake. Oh yeah, these two here, we can get going. The other ones won't be far behind. Okay, we got 2 pans on a baking sheet. That's going to make them a lot easier to handle. And we'll get them thrown in our oven. We reduce the heat to 325 degrees. And we're going to bake for about 20 minutes, but it's going to be more about the color on top. We want a nice even golden brown on the top. When our bread comes out, we need to brush the tops with butter. So I got about 3 tablespoons of butter. We're going to melt that slow in the microwave. First batch just came out. Aren't those beautiful? We got them brushed with butter on the top. We got the last batch in there. Our last 2 pans of bread are out. They came out absolutely perfect. I'm going to have to make some of this for home. Plus, if Mom finds out I made this and didn't bring her any, she's going to disown me. So don't worry, Mom, we'll make some. All right, we have everything packaged up, ready to roll. Got a couple hours to burn, so we'll hang out here at the house till it's time to go. Well, thanks for hanging out and baking with us today. We enjoyed it. We've got lots of stuff to take up there. We got a whole vehicle load of stuff, so hopefully it all sells real good and the girls make a lot of money on their bake sales. So till next time, stay safe, stay healthy. We love you guys. Come back and see us here at Markelly Farm.